The Hypnotic Hiker presents Hypnotic Trip, a virtual mind trip experience, a series of guided journeys that take you back to your true self. In these episodes, you'll discover the power of your subconscious mind and how to easily change any old outdated programs from birth that have kept you stuck. You'll enjoy some virtual hikes, plus I'll share the divine interventions that I've encountered on my hikes and how I put those into my spiritual practice. You'll learn walking meditation and self-hypnosis. By the way, I've been a clinical hypnotist in Dallas since 2002. In addition, we'll explore the importance of staying connected to that wild child within you and in touch with your primitive instincts. We'll talk about how the modern world has tried to change us into the cogs of a machine. I'll dive into mass hypnosis and the concept of transhumanism. We will even explore regenerative ranching and agriculture via a virtual tour of my homestead that is based loosely on the concept of permaculture. But the most important discovery you'll have is how to lose that shadow self and to love yourself again, to stand on your own 2 feet and think from your heart mind and speak with your true voice. You'll gain the freedom to be your absolute best self. I'm Valerie, the Hypnotic Hiker. So are you ready for a new relationship with you? We can do that, and it begins in nature. Come along with me now on your first hypnotic trip. Welcome to episode 18. If you're listening to this first thing in the morning, perhaps you notice the sunrise. If not, perhaps you can recall one of those sunrises that really took your breath away. Our guest today remembers very well a transformational sunrise, and it wasn't in a national park. It was out of one of the windows of her home in Dallas. She's with me today to share with you the power of seeing things in a new way. Peggy Pepper is the creator of Positive on Purpose. Peggy, welcome to Nature, the Drug of Choice.
Absolutely, so happy to be here.
And I want to give you an opportunity, because we've kind of teased them, to tell us about this sunrise. And I will post a picture of that in the show notes. But tell us about this transformational sunrise, when it happened and what it meant for you. And then we'll get more into what it means to be the creator of Positive on Purpose.
Oh, yay. Well, I think transformation often comes when we least expect it. And that was certainly the case for me. I had been on a long business trip and I purposely had a day that was not full of anything except my ability to sleep and wash clothes and just regroup from this really grueling trip. And so that morning I woke up, and if anyone has ever stayed in a hotel, no matter how hotsy-totsy or not it seems like the curtains in a hotel never quite come together in the middle.
They
And
don't.
they just don't. What happens is you are trying to sleep and the sun comes up, and of course it's the brightest day ever on the day you really want to sleep. And this laser beam of light is between the draperies. And so I woke up to this laser beam in my face. And I was actually really mad because I was also really tired and I just wanted to sleep. So I got up to yank the draperies together. And what I saw out that laser beam was the most magnificent sunrise I had ever seen. It was oranges and yellows and greens, and it looked like it was just morphing right in front of my face. And I was so taken with the fact that first I was irritated and angry, and then I was just overcome with this feeling of incredible reverence that I got to experience this. It shifted everything for me. And I ran and got a camera, my iPhone, and I took a picture and I kept taking pictures and kept taking pictures of this sunrise. And what happened was it turned into my getting up earlier than usual for 400 more mornings in a row. And I took photographs after I probably took about 1,500 photographs of sunrises because of that one morning. And those sunrises turned into a book called Rise. And from there, I decided that it would be a great idea to be a one-man band in helping people rise in their own lives. And so that was my whole positivity platform started as a result of that sunrise and all those subsequent sunrises.
I've known you for a long time and I did not know that. I didn't
Yes,
realize that's where it started.
it all started. It started with me being irritated, running to the curtains in my t-shirt, grumbling and having a little hissy fit. And it's turned into hundreds of thousands of followers as a result. So,
So let me just interject that Peggy is an award-winning creative catalyst and writer. She is, as you can tell, devoted to others seeing and believing the best about themselves. She's a believer in the glass being refillable. I love that. And the creator and deep believer in the life-altering results of the positive on purpose process. So I think you've just proved that. And I also know you personally, and I know that you don't like drugs, recreational or even pharmaceutical. I know you believe in the power within to shift our moods, and then in this case, the power of nature to do that. So would it be fair to say that that sunrise you saw, that memorable transformative day, kind of had the effect of taking a drug? Or was it even
well,
better than that?
yeah, well, actually, I have been known to consume some tequila in my day, and
Yeah.
so, but the rest of the sort of drug world has never really appealed to me because I feel like ultimately it numbs us out to really living and all the dimensions, like that morning, all the dimensions of that morning were vividly impressed upon me. And had I been, and so, yes, it was this transformative experience that I could have never gotten any other way. I think
Mhm.
the typical drug world and the reason we get addicted is because we're trying to run away from something instead of feeling things deeply. But I think when we have a chance to feel things deeply, it's like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir is singing in our souls. And that's how it was for me. So yes, it was it was nature, just the overwhelming nature of nature that I had nothing to do with creating. More
Mm.
magnificent than any piece of art I have ever seen in my whole life. And that is such a reminder that going out in nature and having a chance to go on a mountain hike and feel the air and see the sun and watch the day evolve, where I'm just a lucky participant in that. It's so
Mm.
magnificent, definitely.
So I know you spent some time in North Carolina. Can you talk about some of those mountain hikes and just maybe
Oh
some of
yeah.
the lessons that nature, let's say lessons that nature taught you, but you know what I mean, that just,
Yeah. Well, I'm in the midst, you've inspired me to write an article called Wild Thing, I Think I Love You. And and the thing that is so amazing to me about nature, when you're out in the woods, there's so much happening at once. There's so much life going on in every direction that it makes me put my own life in perspective, that
Mm.
there's so much happening that's so organic and beautiful that I had not one thing to do with. So, for those of
How
us who tend
nice.
to be maybe a little bit on the control freak side, for
Yeah.
those of us who want to fix everything, and it's amazing to me that when we move into a house in the city, we start landscaping, we
Yeah.
start cutting the bushes, and we start putting things in pots. But when we go out in nature in a natural setting, it is really utter chaos.
Yeah.
Nature,
It
utter
is.
chaos.
Yeah.
And and driving all of that chaos is this natural order of things that is so much bigger and so much more creative than we could ever come up with. And when you start to learn about ecosystems and the reasons that the leaves fall is so that buds have a place to grow when the wintertime comes, and
Mm-hmm.
everything has a reason, and everything has its own trajectory, and everything has this order to it that we would have never thought of, not in a
Mm.
million years.
Mm.
So, and when I see the sunlight coming through the leaves in the trees, and the leaves are sort of rippling, and there's that smell of wood that's fallen on the ground and has gotten in the dirt and is on its way to, becoming something else and will nurture plants one of these days. The
Yeah.
whole system of it, and it's there for me to enjoy and not judge, and not want to fix it. There's
Well,
nothing that needs to be fixed
well,
in
I have to
nature.
say, I took a
Nothing.
group on a hike with me, one of my hypnotic hikes, and um, one of the participants said, somebody needs to come in here and kind of move all this dead wood out, and there's some horse poop on the trail, and they really just need to
Now that
clean this
poop,
up.
wow.
And then it wouldn't be nature, right?
Really,
Um,
kind of wouldn't be.
so my sister, I thought she coined this phrase because I'd never heard it before. Toxic positivity.
Oh,
At a recent personal event, a friend of mine said to me, Val, you just need to relax. You just need to go sit down and relax. And I
well, thank
thought,
you.
well, I'll go sit down, but I'm not going to relax. I mean, the way you said it, it's just. And my sister said, wow, that's toxic positivity. Um, so I saw that on your website. So tell me about toxic positivity. What is that?
Well, it is the exact opposite of what positivity is meant to be. And that is, if you're familiar at all with um, a really tremendously motivational, super bright person named Brene Brown, she came on the scene to debunk the idea that vulnerability was weak. And
Hmm.
she turned the idea of vulnerability into what it really is, which is ultimate strength, that you have enough confidence in yourself and desire to live a life of truth that you can be vulnerable when you feel vulnerable. And it really is courage. Well, in the
Okay.
face of positivity, positivity is a mindset, and it's a mindset that has to be cultivated just like mindfulness is cultivated. Positivity has to be cultivated too, because the human race is not naturally wired to think positively from the get-go, from when we were, the beginning of the human race.
I would agree with that.
Negative thinking is about keeping us safe, and
Right.
thinking is about keeping us out of harm's way. And so it serves a purpose. And one of the things that really gets me about people who are trying to propel positivity in the world is that they're telling people that they need to get rid of their negative thinking. So that makes it toxic automatically because you're telling people not to be human. Well, and then the other part of the toxic positivity model is you're supposed to be some Susie Sunshine and just let it go.
I hate that.
No, that song, Let It Go. I can't sing, so you can tell I
Yeah.
can't sing. But that song has been supposedly downloaded more times than any song currently in
Wow.
history.
Wow.
Currently. So that's been since whatever it was, 2014 when it came out. But the point is, in real positivity, is that you don't let anything go. You dive into whatever is in front of you and you say, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? If you let it go, all you're doing is putting one more thing in your boiling pot. And we all know when the pot is boiling, the lid starts to rattle, and all kinds of weirdness comes out while we have this big smile on our face, and we're telling everyone else that they need to be positive or dealing with things by not dealing with them is toxic positivity. It
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
you know, so that to me is how it's completely opposite. What I'm talking about is you look life right in the eye and you say, what do I need to learn from this? And when you learn what you need to learn, guess what? That thing doesn't need to be let go. It will just vanish in your life because you've dealt with
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it. So that's the difference, I think.
So I remember reading one of your articles about this very thing when you had a house fire
Oh, yeah.
and you
Yeah.
just kept that that attitude while you were being vulnerable and very courageous, but you kept above it all. You
Well, and it
want to talk
wasn't
about
even,
that and
yeah. We bought a house in the country, sort of an escape place. It was this wonderful cabin, and we added to it, and we decided it would be the place where we put all of our family memorabilia, and we'd go out on the weekends, and we had a fire pit on the porch, and I had all my grandmother's cookbooks because I was always too busy during the week to cook. And I was looking forward to reliving all those times with her. So all our
Mm,
cookbooks were there and all of our little mementos and Boy Scout awards and Girl Scout awards, blah, blah, blah. They were
mhm,
all there. We got the house finished and we planned to have a big picnic to celebrate getting the house finished. And the house had been finished for about 3 months. We had the picnic invitations out, and the house got hit by lightning and burned to the ground. And it burned 150 trees around the house. And
wow.
the only way anybody even knew the house was on fire was the Forest Service saw the fire from a fire tower.
Ah,
Otherwise, that probably the whole community we lived in would have burned down. So, of course, I was devastated. And part of the positivity process is to let yourself be devastated. And, I had several fits like a 2 year old, throwing myself on the floor, having a big cry about everything that we had lost and
mhm,
all the work that had gone into it. And so I acknowledged all of those really negative, hard feelings on the front end. And then this positive on purpose process is once you sort of get that out of your system, if you've ever had a big cry and you've needed to cry about something, you sort of know when you're through. And so when you know that you're through, then it's time to dive in. And so the positives that came out of that were that ordinarily I would have been there for the weekend. My husband would have gone back to Dallas to work on Monday morning. I would have stayed over on Monday morning and cleaned up the house and gotten it ready for the next weekend. But my aunt had died. And so that weekend that the fire happened, we were in another city having a celebration of my aunt's life, or I could have easily been in the house when the lightning hit our house in four places. I could have easily not gotten out of the house.
Yeah.
So I got to thank myself for being somewhere else, honoring someone I loved.
Mm-hmm.
And then my grandmother's cookbooks that I loved, she had all these notes in the columns and the sides that I had shared. I got to dive into the memories that were still in my memory and in my life experience. And I made a list of all the memories
Mm.
that had been in the house that went up in smoke, but those memories were still very
Yeah.
present in me.
Right.
And I still have a little book of those memories. And then another question that you ask yourself when something like that happens is, what do I need to do differently in the future? Well, what we needed to do differently in the future was to put lightning rods on the roof of any house we would have in East Texas in the future. And so, I mean, heavens, Betsy, did we learn our lesson?
Yeah.
But those were positive action items that we took out of a really sad occasion.
Mm-hmm.
But our lives, I became more appreciative of the fact that I was still alive. I was appreciative of the fact that you always celebrate the life of a loved one in some way. And then, we thought we were going to save money by not doing lightning rods on the house. Uh-oh.
Oh.
So, we learned that we needed to budget better if we were going to have another house in that area of Texas.
Yeah.
And so that's how you end up with positive going forward when something tragic happens.
Mm. I remember just reading that and just saying, there's no way she's can be positive through this. There's just no way. There's just no way.
Well, I think you get to it
Yeah.
eventually. I think one of the great lessons in life is that we live life forward, but we understand it backward. And
Mm.
how many times when you're in the middle of something that you think's a total shit show, you say, we're going to laugh about this later. And
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't try to say to people, oh, go ahead and laugh about it now, because there are too many hurdles to get over. Don't laugh about it now, but know that you're going to learn the lessons that you needed to learn later. And instead of saying, why me, pitiful me, later you will say, why not me? Look what I got out of this that I would have never gotten any other way. And would I have chosen that way to get it? No, but
Oh.
that's what happened. That's about looking life right in the eye in real time. So that's
And
how,
that's another way nature, right? Nature taught you
yeah,
that. Yeah.
totally, totally. Well, and here's one of the things we didn't know, and this was nature. In East Texas, one of the reasons pine trees grow and they're so green and they're these green forests is there is mercury in the soil in East Texas, and mercury attracts lightning. And so,
Oh.
yeah, and so there are a lot of flat fields with no trees because at some point lightning may have hit a grove of trees and
Okay.
turned into a field that could be planted with flowers and crops and
Something
vegetables
else.
and things.
Yeah.
So it was meant to be that those areas would have an attraction to lightning if that area needed to be
Interesting.
cleared. Yeah, so we learned that one too.
Wow. And any plans to build another cabin in the woods of East Texas?
Well, we are trying to figure out where we actually want to land now. We moved back to Dallas from North Carolina because I had some health issues that I needed to address. And now Dallas, the city, is just not Dallas, the city is growing by leaps and bounds, and that's great for the city. But we got used to a slower pace. We got used to four seasons. We got used to just when we could walk out our front door and 20 minutes from our front door, we could take a choice of 50 different waterfall hikes that we could go on.
And that was North
And
Carolina.
that was North
Yeah.
Carolina. So we're actually looking at, now that I seem to have all my health issues handled, we
Yeah.
are looking at going back to North Carolina either part of the year, getting away from Dallas, the big sizzle in the summer that Dallas is famous for, or if we find the right place, we might go back there and buy a house there full time and then come back and forth to Dallas when we want to be with our
Mhm.
friends and
Mhm.
spend
Mhm.
some extra time here. So we're just in the juggle mode right now,
Right.
trying to figure out what we might end up doing.
How exciting.
Yeah, it is.
So I noticed on your website that there's a couple of downloadable files that you offer. You just sign up for your newsletter, and you could
Mhm.
download. Could you talk about those and how they were designed or why and how people can use those?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, if first of all, signing up for the website is actually just every week I write an article that I think will be uplifting for people, and that is free. And signing up also, there is a downloadable series of daily affirmations and positivity propellers that you can also download. And the way it's been set up on the downloads is if you wanted to cut them in wallet sizes,
Mm-hmm.
then it's marked off on the page so you could cut them into it's 31 for one for every day, and you could take one of those with you, or you could laminate it in plastic if you wanted to. But
Okay.
those affirmations and positivity propellers for daily life change all the time. So that's free also. And I'm starting at the first of the year working with people individually on creating life plans where the life plan involves being more positive and more proactive with life. So if you've got a goal you want to reach, the positive way to do it would be a great time to work with me, because I've been doing this since 2005, helping people craft positive life plans for themselves. And it's one-on-one. You know, a lot of what I'm doing is really from the heart, and it's from my business experience and my life experience. And I'm not trying to set people up to like reel them in and then knock them down with some course that they have to spend
Thank you.
hours to take. And, you know, I think so many of us, part of the difficulty in being positive is that so many of us feel like we're being manipulated, and we don't, you know, we can get excited about something and then we find out it's, well, this is $17. Oh, but wait, if you get the really super human coolie cool deal, then it's only $47 more. But wait, if
Yeah.
you know, it goes on and on and on. And before you know it, you've spent hundreds of dollars and you feel like an idiot. And then what they have to say is not anything
It's
new at
nothing.
all.
Yeah.
It's just a
I
different
know a lot
package.
of coaches and consultants have tried to talk me into, putting some of my hypnotherapy programs out there like that. And I said, I'm just not interested in playing that game.
Well,
If someone wants
it's
to
not.
work one on one with me, then here it is. I don't want to have to manage that or figure out the
Well, it's not
strategy.
right. My life is about making a difference based on the things that I have learned that that have sometimes knocked me back, and other times when I put forth effort that I hadn't planned on the front end, but I sort of let life lead me along.
Mm.
And then I ended up finding out more about myself and finding a different path to the kind of success that I wanted than if I had done some prescribed course. And so when I see people who call themselves coaches, and I'm not knocking coaches, but it does seem like these days there is a course for everyone who wants to call themselves a coach. There's a
Mm-hmm.
course to take. And I had a successful entrepreneurial career, and then I went back to the seminary and learned all about the religions of the world and how they influence cultures in the world. And I got a special designation in pastoral care and counseling. So, I'm non-judgmental about how people need to get where they go. And I'm experienced in my own life. And I would rather work with somebody like me than somebody that's taken a class and now the class is just going to be repeated to the next person and the next person
Right.
and the next person.
Right.
And it's like you, Val. Everybody you work with walks in with a different life story.
Yeah.
And because your heart is in your work and your training, it has enlivened your heart for your work, then everybody gets a different part of what intuitively is going to work for them.
Right.
And
You can't
don't,
step and repeat
don't
that.
yeah, and you can't put that in a cookie cutter. You just
Mm-hmm.
can't.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I love the people I work with. I have loved every single one and every single one of their stories. And we're really just on this path together to get them where they want to go without judgment, and with all encouragement and unvarnished truth. I mean, sometimes they'll hear things from me that they don't necessarily want to hear, but they know I love them, and they most of the time I think I'm very trusted by my clients, and they trust me. How
Mm.
often do you really want somebody to just tell you the truth so you can get
Yes.
on with your life?
Yes.
So anyway, that's the whole positive on purpose. If you go to the website, you can reach out to me. Also, if you want to work with me privately, you can just email me. I don't even have a section on my website that says sign up for my course.
Yeah.
So
Good. That'd be a huge turnoff.
yes, it is to
So,
me. So I don't
so
want to turn other people off.
tell me about a typical client for you. Who's your ideal client?
Typically, I've worked with women, and I've worked with women who have been high achieving, often hard on themselves, sometimes leaning more toward perfectionism, where they feel kind of they've put themselves in their own box of success, and they're ready for some freedom to feel more truly empowered like from the heart center, not so much about
Mm.
what they think they need to do. And it's interesting, I work with what I call two different groups of women. One group I call the aspirationals, and they're the young women, I'd say between 35 and maybe late 40s. And they have all the boxes that they're still trying to check. They want to have careers. They want to establish themselves in a career. They want to be married. They want to be great moms. They want to look like $1 million. They want to live in a really nice house. They're just go, 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 go. And they're super hard on themselves. And their big fear is, in the midst of all this, they're losing who they at one time thought they were. And they're checking all the boxes. So how do you create a box for yourself that you get to check in
Mm-hmm.
that age? And then really women from sort of menopause into their 70s, um, I call them the inspirationals, because
Okay.
they've checked all the boxes and now they don't have boxes left to check, and the kids have left, and they've put themselves on hold for so long
Mm-hmm.
that there's a part of them that's a little bit angry, and a part of them that's a little bit sad, and a part of them that's a little bit lonely. And that's still got an umbrella of, I want to be me. I want to still accomplish things. I want to be respected by myself and other people. I want to explore new things. I want to use my wisdom for something brand new. And that's a completely different set of dynamics. And some of them have been high level career people.
Mm.
Some of them have done the traditional path of being wife and mother and maybe go back to school, but want to utilize all their life experience into something brand new and more meaningful.
Yeah.
So, that's everybody really. Somebody described me as someone who, or actually it was a client. She said, well, you've worked with me with my whiskers on my chin and my wealth management. So, what, when, when you need what you need it now, right?
I can hear, not really, but a lot of my listeners probably just saying, yes, that's me. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, you were hitting a lot of points. And I believe, for me, when I was running the ad agency, to make that jump from being a hypnotherapist, was really hard to slow down. Someone
Yeah.
described me as a type A Zen, because
Hmm.
I still wanted to get everything done.
And I
And
think I
there's so
think
many
when you're
deadlines always.
right, and I think when you really have a buoyant life force, when you're full of life and you want to live it to the fullest, I think sometimes we can exhaust ourselves because we're going and hard charging. And I think the ability to dial it to a different station, and I don't even say dial it back. I'm saying just dial it to a different station, learning
Yeah,
how to
dial
do
it
that.
back's like let it go. That doesn't work.
Yeah, it is. Dialing it back is like, to me, it's like somebody's finger in my face. Yeah, it feels
That's yeah,
judgy.
yeah, that's what hiking became for me, about 20 years ago, was a
Mhm.
way to escape everything that was going on and just get out into the woods. And in Texas, there's not a lot of real woods. I mean, they're early growth, 20, 30-year-old trees, cedar
Right.
trees, and elm trees. But it's still being out there, as Wayne Dyer says, nature has intention built into it, and you
Yeah,
just get to
absolutely.
step into
Like,
that and feel the relaxation, the natural order of things, and it really does help our bodies and our minds to relax. It's so much easier than sitting meditation. You know.
well, I agree. I think there's some parks near where we live now, and on a day when I'm feeling kind of like, well, I don't know if you believe this, but it seems like since COVID in particular, that Plan A has actually become the cosmic joke. That, whatever you plan is going to get unplanned for you. And you can feel like you're not really the master of your own life a lot of the time, and you're having to live with mandates that somebody else has
Right.
no clue about your life. And I think you and I've talked about this in the past, and that is the absolute most heinous punishment that a criminal can get is 24-hour isolation. And
Right.
here, and then, like, what have we been doing? What were
Right.
we mandated to do? And so on those days when I'm feeling kind of lonely and frustrated, and that plan A didn't work, plan B, C, D, and E hadn't worked either, there's a couple of parks near me where I have identified the bench that I need to just go sit on.
Yes.
And I take my phone for security in the neighborhood, but I leave my phone in my little bag, and I just
Sit on that
soak it
bench. Yeah.
soak it in. Wonderful.
I want to go back to what you said in the very beginning, that transformations happen when we least expect it. And the reason I want to talk a little more about that is that
Okay.
in hypnotherapy, that's the power that is, that's the powerful changes that occur in hypnotherapy, because they're not, the client is not expecting
Yeah.
what I'm
Like
what
seeing,
I'm suggesting to them. So it
uh-huh.
catches them off guard. And it also, I know one of the ways the subconscious becomes imprinted with concept is that we are caught off guard. So,
Mhm.
um, you could have easily had a lot of negative thoughts and emotions and responses to all these situations there's countless ones that I know, negative
Yeah,
experiences were just
right.
experiences, but
Hmm.
the subconscious mind is like a sponge and can absorb. And that is why, you said we're wired for negativity, and that is why it's so prevalent. There's so many negative occurrences in our lives, and we just choose to see them that way. We choose to stay in that, and the subconscious gets very used to that. And
Hmm.
so it becomes very difficult to break out of that. And it's something like that sunrise where you were emotional, you were angry. That's an emotion.
Hmm.
And so you were caught off guard. And that was like the opening, like that little ray of light coming in through the window. That was your opening to, you know,
Everything.
and
I mean,
that's why
really.
it got in there and had such an
Hmm.
effect. So
Here's what I know. The the trip that I was on, that I came home exhausted from, that trip was for me to have a 3-day weekend where I was looking deeply into what I felt was missing in my life and what I thought would fill it.
wow.
And so I came home exhausted because I was emotionally exhausted
Yeah.
from the trip. And I came home frustrated, actually,
Because you
because
didn't
I
know.
because I came home still not knowing. I came home and I didn't get the fix.
Mm.
I didn't come home with the prescription that would propel my life forward. And so there I was. I came home, my flight was late, babies were crying on the plane, sort of like
And they're
everything
not
about.
your babies.
Right. No, yeah, thank God. More power to people that have babies, is all I have to say. Precious things. And so I came home from the trip honestly feeling sort of sad, sort of emotionally gutted in a way. And all I could think of was at least I have a day to just sort of wind down and then wind myself back into my regular life. I'll figure this out later.
Hmm.
And so then this beam of light, the beam of light that was so irritating to me in the moment, well, you could get a good metaphor going there, couldn't you?
Sure. Sure.
That I had asked for a
Paul
path.
on the road to Damascus.
Yes, and I had asked for, the steps that I would need to take to transform my life in some neat little picture. I had asked for all of that and
Hmm.
felt like I hadn't gotten it, and came home exhausted. And I'd paid for this seminar, and all these big guru people were supposed to tell me what to do, and they were like, good luck. So, so the transformation took place because I had asked for it,
Yes. Right.
but it came to me in a completely different package,
Right.
in a completely different way than would I have ever said, okay, I want to be tired and frustrated. I want to, be blinded by this light in the bedroom that, spent all this money on curtains and they still don't close together. I mean, the way it came to me, the package that it came in was transformative because I had given up. I had surrendered how
Trying
it
to
needed to
figure it out
happen. Right,
consciously.
right.
Yeah.
So
And I think
that's,
that's what happens in hypnosis too. People leave the session, they're not sure that anything's happened. And then they come back the following week and I ask, what they've noticed.
Well, nothing. Really, I guess everything's really going pretty good. Oh, but I wrote a book and I quit my job and started a new one.
Yeah, but really nothing much,
Nothing really much happened
Yeah.
because your subconscious does take. If you ask your subconscious, when you ask your subconscious a question like, what would it take for me to go to the next level of my career?
Hmm.
What would it take for me to, your mind will sort that out and
Hmm.
give you that through an inspiration, through nature, through a dream. And so, when you went to that seminar, I think they probably did, whether the gurus there helped, plant the seed, but
Hmm.
your unconscious was working on it. And, um, that's why nature, the drug of choice. That's why being in nature is like being in hypnosis. It's like
It really
access
is.
to the creativity, access to your unconscious.
Hmm.
There's really no other way to do it. So hiking and being in nature are vitally important.
And I think the other thing about being in nature is understanding that everything in nature is working perfectly. It
Yeah.
is working in harmony, although it looks like cacophony. It is working in utter harmony. And there is this natural order that has worked for thousands of years. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. I mean,
Yeah.
what do we have to do with that? The tides go out, the tides come in. We don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
And I think that I think to ask and ye shall receive, but you're not going to receive it in the way you expect.
Right.
The 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 receiving is possible, but the package is going to be something so completely unexpected. And we have to trust and anticipate that we will get our answers when we allow this magnificent universe to play out within us.
You said the word I was just thinking about, allowing.
Hmm.
We want, but our unconscious parts of us, beliefs, considerations, judgments, sometimes don't allow someone that's asking for large amounts of money. They're really not allowing it because if they did that, money's evil. They're going against their religious beliefs, they're going against their culture. Um, so the allowing of it is another important component.
Hmm.
But
I
you
mean,
can't just tell people, oh, just allow it to happen either.
oh, really,
There's a lot of inner work.
three fingers down the throat. I
Okay,
mean,
so let's
really.
see. Allow it to happen, let
Hmm.
it go.
And
What was the
that's
other
not the
one?
same thing.
Oh, go with the flow.
Yeah, let it go.
Go with the flow. Ugh. I know I have
Seek,
the flow
and I
center,
love
but
this one, like seek answers from the universe. It's like, oh, shut up.
because all the answers are within us, and all a lot of people will say, well, I was going to come to hypnotherapy, but I'm doing ketamine instead, or I'm going to ayahuasca, or I'm going to get back on my antidepressants. And I said, you're just seeking something from the outside, and if you could just be brave enough, vulnerable enough, courageous enough, we can get to that thing, that reason why you're having this experience. And
Mhm.
it's hard. It can be hard work. It's uncomfortable.
Well,
Self-sabotage kicks in all the time.
the thing that I think is so interesting is we look for a quick fix, and the quick fix is something that we pay for and we go to doctors for and we get prescribed, and it is the mental way of living.
Yeah.
It's the mental way of
Good
living. It's
point.
not the organic way of living. The organic way of living, I'll give you a down to earth example. The organic way of living is when you are looking for something in your house and you've misplaced it somewhere. and you have turned the house upside down looking for it. And when you finally say, you know what, I can't look one more spot. Well, while you're brushing your teeth before you go to bed at night, the spot, the shelf and the corner that it's on, when you have surrendered and you've said, it will come to me, it will come to us. And there the thing is that you spent 5 hours hissing and spinning.
Yes, very
trying
true.
to find, and there it is. That happens all the time. And so you start to learn this dynamic that lives in us and will protect us and propel us into exactly what we need. I mean, it's a trust.
You sure do like a lot of P words.
I do. I'm
protect and propel, positive pops,
Peggy
positive on
Pepper.
purpose.
Just
Peggy
peeing all over
Pepper, and that
myself.
is her real name. That is her real name.
My parents had a sense of humor. Gosh. I think I've told you that often when I've gone to some party where people are a bit nervous, but it's one of these networking things, or it's a wedding reception or something, people are introducing one another, and maybe there's a drink or two involved. Well, so when they say, I'd like to have you met Peggy Pepper? And I mean, I have heard this my whole
Say it 3
life.
times.
Really. And of course, everyone is horrified. But I will say a name like Peggy Pepper is maybe hard to say, but hopefully it's also hard to forget.
I think so. This has been delightful. I've enjoyed our conversation very much. We could talk for hours.
Yes. Isn't life fascinating? It is so frustrating and so fascinating. I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's for sure. So I'll put the link to your web so people can join your email list, get your delightful and uplifting and informative articles, and reach out to you. Should there be any, people who are aspirational and
or inspirational
or who are not and need some help sorting some things out. So.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be great. I'm looking forward to doing more of that in the new year. I've got clients that right now that I worked with several years ago, and they found out I was back in Dallas, and rather than doing Zoom, they opted to see me in person. So I like in person so much better. So
yes, I do too.
So anyway, this has been great.
Thank you, Peggy Pepper.
Yeah. I love what you're doing. Love it, love it, love it. Love you too.
Take good care.
Okay. Bye.